Good morning, and thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Butchester. You know what I like to do on my show. I want to enlighten, inspire, and empower you to become your best self. Now, Scripture reminds us that the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. And today, we want to get you fired up about a book entitled Generations. Its author is Annette Fluker, and this is what she says about her book. It is a guide. It is a look at God and His generations. It tells you how long and also how deep God's generations go and gives you a look at her generations and other families as well. The book goes into nationalities and tribes. Yeah, we forget that there are 12 tribes. And, you know, we are all family in one way or the other. Now, you know what I'm going to tell you. Go on, get comfy, get cozy, get your coffee or get your tea, because we are about to get started. Good morning, Annette. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Good morning.
Now, I love the title of your book, In Generations, because we all have some things that we have passed down as a part of our culture, as a part of just family traditions, or even traditions as far as our faith is concerned. But before we get into all of that, I always talk to my authors about who they are from a personal perspective. Let the audience get to know you a little bit, if you will. So I'm going to ask you a very open and broad question, and that is, what makes Annette Annette? What has made you the person that you are today?
Well, I had to go through experience with God in order to know who I was. I had to go through a lot of darkness, and I became a widow at age 31. And my oldest daughter's father died a week after my husband died. So I had to bury two people. And I was going through changes there to bring me to the person that I am today.
Oh my goodness! My heart just hurts for you in that moment to have to go through something like that. You know, death is always hard when it's one person, but nonetheless when it's two people. So I can definitely understand. Now, being an author, is that something that you've always wanted to do, or did you find that it was the next logical step for you in your life?
As I experienced darkness, the lightness of becoming an author came into my life. I experienced God, but I had to go through a lot of different religions in order to grab back to my God. My grandfather was a reverend. He was white. His mother was white, and his grandmother was white. And I had to experience different religions like Islam or something like that to know that I didn't belong there, that I'm a Christian. And I was actually almost being pulled into hell, not by the Muslim religion, because they did something, but they didn't do all that to me. I didn't worship their God Allah. I worshiped Jesus Christ and God Almighty. I had to go through a lot of things in order to bring out the writing. And I didn't even understand what I was writing about until sometime halfway, when I'm halfway through.
And you know, you're not the first person that I know that has said, you know, that they needed to rediscover themselves, that they needed to almost in a way, they turned away from what their parents had taught them about faith, about Christianity. But in their turning away and going through, like you said, excuse me, trying to find that discovery of faith for oneself, they found out that they were exactly where they needed to be, and they were at home in the Christian faith. So I can understand that. And for someone who's never experienced that, good for you. For someone who has, had to make that journey and they've come back to Christianity, good for you and welcome back home. It's a journey that so many people have been on. Thank you for sharing that. Now, I see that when you share and you talk about in your bio that you also enjoy writing music. How different is being an author of books from writing music?
Well, it's actually no different. It's like a gift that God just gave me to occupy my time because I was so tied down with the devil. And I couldn't, I didn't have nothing like work or nothing like that. So God gave me the music and the writing in place to keep me occupied.
I tell you, it is definitely a gift. I know a lot of people who write music, and I tell you what, it is a beautiful thing how you're able to take what's in your head and get it out on paper for other people to be able to either play it, or you're able to use an app or whatever and get those notes out so that we can hear it. It is a beautiful thing. I love it. Now, transitioning to your book, Generations, I like the title as someone who is very interested in history in general, cultures in particular. Being a multicultural person myself, I love to dig deep and find out about what makes a person the person that they are. So with your title, Generations, did you find that it came to you first and you wrote your story around that, or were you writing and the title kind of jumped out at you and you decided, yep, this is the title? How did that work?
I was so wrapped up into darkness that I came up with Generations to prove a point to God that I know who He is and that He is my God. So I had to go into details of His whole generation, all the way from Adam and Eve to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and Noah. I had to do all of that just to prove myself to God. I'm proving myself to God when I'm writing the book Generations. I'm proving to Him that I know that He is my God, and I'm confessing.
It is such a beautiful thing that when we realize that when we walk in the purpose that God has given to us, I tell you, it is a totally different thing, because it's just perfect. It just does exactly what it needs to do. It becomes so easy, and everything it kind of falls into place the way that it's supposed to. I definitely understand that. Now, were you a particular age, or did a particular thing inspire you or motivate you to start writing? When did you realize that there was power in the words that you wrote?
After I was attacked by evil. It took evil for me to realize the strength of God. And God told me, He said that if I was to write the book Generations, that He would open all the windows to the kingdom of heaven on me. And so I really completed the book for God, because I truly do need Him to open up the kingdom of heaven for me, because I had so much darkness that was messing with me, demons and everything. So I need them to go away, and I need God's blessings.
Now, can you tell us a little bit more about that? Sometimes people say people exaggerate. People say, the devil did it. That ain't nothing but Satan, and I don't know what they're talking about, or I think they're putting extras on it. But you have a story to share. Can you tell us more about what happened to you?
Okay. After my husband died, I was the type of person that God said in the Bible is sleep, the eyes are closed. My eyes were closed to the wicked and to evil. And what I'm doing is waking up. I'm waking up to evil and darkness. And then I have to realize that God is with me. God always been with me.
It is so funny how I think if we all kind of stop and look back at our lives, and they always say that hindsight is 20/20, but if we stop and look back, we have those moments, where you realize it was like, woo, that was definitely a God moment there, because I was kind of going left.
For over 30 years.
Oh my goodness, that is something else. Now, how did it affect your family? Was there any overlap with them? How did that all take place?
Well, when it first started, I went to a place called Social Services for Children to get help. And one of the ladies there told me to close the doors to hell, let go of the kids. And I let go of my children to send them to two of my children. I sent them to family members, and I sent their money with them, and that my children didn't finish school. I believe that if I would have kept them, they would have completed school and everything. So now they're like, the income is low income, the jobs is low. My son is incarcerated for 12 years when they were good children in the beginning. And if I wouldn't have never had listened and let go of the children, they would have been better off today. But they're still good children today. It's just that their life been set back from what I went through, and that they have to go get the high school diplomas and everything in order to get good jobs.
Wow, I tell you.
Yeah, and as for me, I lost everything I had. I kept moving from apartment to apartment, thinking that the demons would go away, and they followed me everywhere I went. I went from city to city, state to state, and I'm spending rent money, security money to move in these different places where the little money that I had, I lost everything, and so now I'm right with my mother. And I can't go on because of my back. My back is terrible, out of whack, and I have to try to seek more ways to move on. So when God told me to complete generations, that He will open the windows to the kingdom of heaven on me, I completed it because I need the help to move forward.
So it is almost time for us to go to a break. But before we do, Annette, if you could please, can you remind everyone, what is the title of your book, where can we get a copy, and how do we stay in contact with you?
Okay, the name of my book is Generations. It's on Amazon, and you can stay in contact with me through my phone number, 718-377-3245.
Alrighty, everyone. Now you know where you can get a copy of the book. We'll be back right after this.
Discovery. No, just a sec.
What would it look like if we listened more? Could the right voice, the right set of words, bring us all just a little closer? get us to open up, even push us further. It could, if we took the time to listen. The most inspiring minds, the most compelling stories. Download Audible and listen for a change.
Hi everyone, Dr. Angela here. Did you know that Daily Spark is now on Facebook? That's right, you can visit with me at facebook.com/Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I want to know more about what you're thinking. I'd love to know which interview did you find the most entertaining or the most informative. I want to talk to you, and I want you to be able to talk to me. Simply visit facebook.com/Daily Spark with Dr. Angela.
And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Chester. My guest today is Annette Fluker, and we're talking about her book, Generations. Now, we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, Annette, and that was that you had a journey there where you went through and you were trying to find your spiritual self, your religious self, and you learned a little bit more about some other religions, and you decided to come back to Christianity. Now, I want you to tell us about a little bit about that journey. Now, this is your journey. I'm gonna put a little disclaimer here. We're not saying that any other religion is any particular thing. She's just simply sharing about her journey. So let's listen with those ears on. So go ahead, Annette.
I first came to Moorish American in 1991. It was a male that I had dated, and I wasn't in church, and he had his own faith, and we got together, and things started to get a little shaky because it's coming from other groups of religion like Saddam and Iraq. They're doing demonating me in my houses. They coming in my houses demonating me, and I don't know what that is that I'm looking at and what I'm seeing. So I went into panic, and I started moving, and the demons kept coming. And I moved from Linden, New Jersey after I let the children go, like the social worker suggested that I would do. I moved to Virginia, Hampton, Virginia, and I ran into Islam, the Nation of Islam. Mm-hmm. And what we're doing, I have a upper blockage, bowel blockage, and what I'm doing is buying herbs from them. And the blockage came out. I was blocked all the way up, all up in the upper part of my body, and I brought herbs from them. And I went, and by '96, I went into their organization at least one time, and I backed out of it, and I turned my face back to God, like God said, when you turn away from Him, you turn back to Him. And I'm still experiencing a lot of demons. I'm seeing different snakes, different color snakes, a silver one, a white one, a black one, and they're actually biting me, they're beating me. And by 1999, they're crucifying me like I'm Jesus. They just beat the mess out of me. But I cannot say that the Nation of Islam did that to me, because Farrakhan said that he did something, but he didn't do all of that to me. And I come to realize that the other spirits were coming from London, England. And and I started going to the courthouses trying to file court cases for my pain and my suffering. So a lot of that there was breaking me down. By the time I get to Social Security, they tell me that I'm schizophrenia. Because schizophrenia is when you can hear things and you can see things, and it's actually trying to drive me crazy. But I never experienced nothing like that in my life until I started meeting when I met the Moorish American Islamic, the Muslim.
Mhm.
Otherwise, my life was just normal. Like today, it still bothers me. The spirits still bother me, and I still hear them. I have to go see a psychiatrist to keep myself insane. But to really keep myself insane is that I stay prayed up with God, and God bringing me back from all that distress.
Well, praise the Lord for that. And there are so many people that are dealing with mental illness. There's so many people that are dealing with spiritual warfare. There are just so many people that are really going through it. And
that's what it was.
Don't realize
it was a spiritual warfare.
And people don't always talk about it, because so many times people are afraid that people will, laugh at them or think they're crazy or, judge them, just flat out judge them. But we're finding that more and more. I love it when someone is willing to come on and share their experience on the show to let people know that it is happening, it is real for them, so that if anyone else is going through it, they know that they are not alone. So thank you for sharing that. Now, for someone who wants to pick up a copy of your book or has already picked up a copy of your book, what do you feel they're going to learn from your book, or what is your hope that they will learn from the book?
Well, what they're going to learn is from the first book, The Final Call of My Awakening, The Sound of God's Calling, which is on Amazon. Also, they're going to learn that I was a normal person. And I just talked about my normal life, my husband dying and everything. And then it turned into a demonic
oh yes, how it went from being positive to negative, and how the evil spirits came in.
It turned, but God was with me all along.
And isn't it nice to know that the Lord is with you, that He is definitely there when you call out to Him, that He will definitely come to your rescue. I talked about that in a sermon that I did recently, talking about how David had this very awesome faith, because he knew that when he cried out to the Lord, that that God heard him, and that He would come to his rescue. Absolutely. So I can understand that. Now, if I understand correctly, Generations is not the only book that you have authored. You have some other works as well. Is that correct?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
The final call of my awakenings, the sound of God's callings, is about me. That I'm asleep, but I'm beginning to awaken. And I'm watching God, like He's plaguing ever since the Exxon oil spill 1989 for $2 billion. That's like plagues from God, and all the storms and the tornadoes and the hurricanes. I was laying home and I was actually watching how that was going. It's like they was plagues. Because down in Hawaii, they had nothing but, it was covered with frogs, just like during the time when God put all the frogs on Pharaoh. And I was watching all of that. The 5 Great Lakes of Michigan, where all the fish was polluting the water. I also watched where they said that seals or sea lions was spit up out the ocean with no eyes. That was on the news. And I kept up with all of that there, and it's like it was God doing everything. It was like it was plaguing because it was so wicked. It's so wicked in the world that God was getting tired. He was getting ready to end the world. And so now we have COVID-19.
Well, we have so many times I have heard famous pastors to just local lay pastors and just general men and women say that, we think that we're living in the end times. Now,
it looks that way.
Yeah. Now we don't know, of course, if it is like the end times, but we definitely know that we are living in the most end times of any other generation, because it is some things are really starting to become very people are starting to become aware. They're really starting to look around and notice the things that are going on. Mhm.
I'm right here in New York, and when they had Hurricane Sandy and everything, it was terrible.
Yeah.
It was terrible the way that the areas looked at. Like, I worked in one area, the beach, the beach waters had covered the grounds of where I worked at and everything. It was just all tore up.
And for someone who isn't familiar with hurricane season, or they've never been to the East Coast, or they don't know what it's like, a hurricane is so devastating to the land in which it touches, and I want people to just understand that it is not just a really bad thunderstorm. A hurricane is devastating. If you can imagine, it's kind of like a tornado with a thunderstorm. It can wreak havoc and really cause not only damage to the land, but it's something that the people who live there also have to get over. Living through a really bad storm. You mentioned Sandy. There's, I think everyone is familiar with Katrina. It's so many bad hurricanes that have touched the East Coast that you really do have to learn how to maneuver and get through hurricane season. You are so right.
And all down there in Louisiana.
Yeah. And it's different for folks that live in the Gulf of Mexico. They live a certain way. For the people that live exactly on the East Coast, like from Florida, if you're looking at a map and we say on the right side of Florida, the left side of Florida is the Gulf Coast. That's the Gulf of Mexico. The right side of Florida would be the Atlantic Ocean. So if you live from the most southern point, the Key West parts of Florida, all the way up to New York, a hurricane can come in and just bring its devastation to the whole coast. Those who live in the Gulf of Mexico, that's our Louisiana, our Texas, Mississippi, all of that. We forget that Katrina also touched Long Beach, Mississippi. So I mean, it can really do some damage, and it can take a while to heal from that as well.
And we have had tornadoes and hurricanes, but we never had them like that.
Right.
One on top of another.
Yeah.
We never had them like that there. So I'm thinking, at the same time, I'm still being demonized. And I'm thinking that God actually might be fighting these demons at the same time for what they're doing.
We definitely need to be mindful of what we are doing and make sure that not only are we living our best life as human beings, but that we are living our best Christian life as well. I have to agree with you on that. Well, Annette Fluker, I tell you, I've enjoyed our conversation today, and I think that you have really inspired people and reminded them that they too need to live their best. And, if we are under attack, that we need to remember to call on the Lord, that He is always there with us, for us, and He will definitely get us through. If you can, for one last time, can you remind everyone, what is the title of your book, where can we get a copy, and how do we stay in contact with you?
Okay, the title of my book is Generations. It's published by Author House. Author House Book Company, and it's on Amazon. And you could contact me at 718-377-3245.
Thank you again, Annette, for being on the show with us today.
You're welcome.
And listeners, thank you as well for spending time with us. I hope that you have been inspired, you've been empowered, and you have been enlightened. As always, may the Lord continue to shine his face upon you. May you receive his grace and his mercy in all that you do. Until next time, everyone, remember that you are blessed in the Lord. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.